everyone, my name is Amanda Cooper and I've completed this presentation along with Avery Lynch and Ricky Humphreys. And today we're going to be talking about babies and what first-time parents need to know as far as birth, caring for the baby, etc. To begin our presentation, I'm going to discuss a few terms that are really going to be crucial to understand throughout the presentation. Beginning with the term trimester. While a woman is pregnant, she's going to undergo 3 trimesters. Each trimester is around 3 months and is going to come with various symptoms for the mother and growth developments for the baby, which we're going to discuss later in the presentation. The second term is postpartum. Postpartum is the period of time following childbirth. This time can come with various symptoms which are going to differentiate from mother to mother, one of which can include postpartum depression, in which the mother is severely depressed and is going to struggle to care for herself, which often leads to lack of being able to care for her newborn and oftentimes other people in her family. The third term is the term latching. Latching refers to the action of a newborn latching to the breast of the mother in order to be fed effectively. Babies or new moms can struggle with this, which can lead to a lack of nutrition for the baby and can possibly cause a beginning or increase of levels in postpartum depression for the mother. The fourth term is the term prenatal. This is essentially the opposite term as postpartum and is going to refer to the time period before the child is born. The next term is skin to skin, and this term is really exactly what it sounds like. It refers to direct bare skin contact between the infant and their parent or a caregiver. This will be discussed later, however, there's studies that show really significant benefits of this for not only the infant but also the caregiver. The final term is maternity and paternity leave. This refers to a period of time, either paid or unpaid, depending on the company, and we discussed other details regarding this topic in another group's presentation. Next, I'm going to discuss some various theories regarding parenting and certain areas of parenting. The first theory is the theory of parental self-efficacy, created by Albert Bandura, who also designed the Bobo doll experiment that we watched in class as a part of another group's presentation. Bandura's parental self-efficacy theory suggests that a first-time parent's belief in their ability to successfully care for and raise their child is going to dramatically influence how they approach various parenting tasks. New parents with a higher self-efficacy are much more likely to feel confident, persist through various challenges that may arise, and engage in generally positive parenting behaviors. This belief can be shaped by various things, including experiences, support, or therefore lack of support, and emotional well-being. In contrast, of course, low self-efficacy may lead to increased stress and various levels of uncertainty in early parenting, which of course will not only affect the mother, but can eventually affect the baby and potentially her partner or other members of the family. The maternal role attainment theory was developed by Ramona T. Mercer and explains how a woman gradually learns, adopts, and internalizes the role of being a mother. This developmental process involves 4 stages. The first stage is the anticipatory stage, which of course is during pregnancy. The next stage is the formal stage, which is after birth, hopefully, of course, with guidance from others during this stage. The third stage is the informal stage, which is when the mother is developing her own mothering style and parenting style. And the fourth stage is the personal stage, which is really when the mother is hopefully achieving confidence and really stepping into their identity as a mother. This theory really emphasizes that maternal identity is shaped over time and can be influenced by various factors such as age, support systems, culture, and even various characteristics of the newborn. Mercer's work today still guides nurses in supporting women through this transition of becoming a mother, and it helps promote healthy maternal-infant bonding and other various skills to ensure that there's good adjustment to becoming a mother. The next theory is the attachment theory, which we've also discussed in previous groups' presentations. The attachment theory was developed by Bowlby and explains the deep emotional bond that forms between a child and their primary caregiver, which again is normally the mother. Bowlby proposed that this bond is crucial for a child's emotional and social development. The theory suggests that early interactions with caregivers are what's going to most dramatically shape a child's sense of security and influence how they form relationships throughout the rest of their life. Secure attachment develops when a caregiver is consistently responsive and nurturing the newborn, while inconsistent or even neglectful care can lead to insecure attachment styles. This was later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, and this theory today is still widely used in psychology, child development, and healthcare to further understand behavior, relationships, and general emotional well-being of moms and babies. The final stage is the stages of parenthood theory. Ellen Galinsky's Stages of Parenthood describes how parents grow and change as their children develop. Galinsky identified this as having 6 stages, and each stage is tied to a specific age range of a child's life. The first stage is the image-making stage, which is, of course, during pregnancy, and really mostly involves planning and the mother beginning to imagine their life as a parent. The nurturing stage, which is from birth until the baby is around 18 to 24 months, focuses on forming a bond and balancing the baby's needs with the parents' lives. In the authority stage, which is while the baby is ages 2 to 5, parents are starting to define rules and expectations for the child and how things are going to run in their household. The next stage is the interpretive stage, which is ages 5 to 12, and this involves teaching values and helping children begin to interpret the world as they're getting slightly older. The next stage is the interdependent stage, which is technically while the child is in adolescence, which is around their teenage years. This starts to require parents to start to renegotiate previous rules and give growing independence in however much independence they think is necessary for their child at this age. The final stage is the departure stage, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's when your child is leaving home, either to work, go to college, go to school, etc. And this really leads parents to reflect on their role and relationship with their now grown children. This theory as a whole really highlights that parenting is a very dynamic and evolving process of learning and adaptation. And of course, this theory does have very set age ranges, but this really can vary from parent to parent. The next topic I'm going to discuss is prenatal care. Prenatal care is crucial for ensuring the health and well-being of course, both the pregnant mom and the developing and growing baby. One important aspect of prenatal care is tests and screenings. These tests and screenings are going to help monitor the baby's growth and ideally detect any potential health concerns as early as possible. These can include ultrasounds, blood tests, genetic screenings, and tests for gestational diabetes and other infections. These regular screenings will allow healthcare providers to identify potential risks and intervene as early as possible if necessary, which ultimately will improve outcomes for, of course, both mom and baby. Another key component to prenatal care is proper nutrition and vitamins. During pregnancy, the body is going to need increased levels of specific nutrients, including folic acid, iron, calcium, and DHA, to not only support fetal development, but also prevent potential complications. Prenatal vitamins are commonly prescribed to moms to ensure that all these needs are met. Consistent medical appointments throughout pregnancy are also crucial. Typically, appointments will be once a month in the first 2 trimesters and more frequently in the third. These appointments are going to allow healthcare providers to track the weight, blood pressure, fetal heartbeat, and other important vital signs to ensure the health of mom and baby. These visits are also opportunities for further health education, where new parents can learn more about labor and delivery, breastfeeding, infant care, and most importantly, how to maintain a healthy pregnancy through various lifestyle choices. Altogether, comprehensive prenatal care is going to support a safer and healthier pregnancy experience, again, of course, for mom and baby. Next, we're going to watch this video, which is going to explain more in depth the importance of prenatal care and various things for mom to be doing and to ensure the health and safety of herself and also her baby.
What's my favorite thing about the fall season? I would probably say the warmth of a home becomes even more enhanced.
Pregnancy can be a wonderful time, full of happiness and joy, as the excitement of welcoming a new person into your family is unlike any other. It can also be a time of great change in a woman's body because of increased hormones and the growth of the baby. Pregnant women should take extra care of themselves during this special time to make sure that they have the healthiest pregnancy possible. Prenatal care is the care women get when they are pregnant and is the way to a safe and healthy delivery for both mom and baby. Babies born to mothers who do not get prenatal care have a higher chance of being born with a low birth weight, which may cause health problems. In addition, the likelihood that a baby will die is higher if their mothers have not had prenatal care. Pregnancy complications can happen even if you are healthy. The best way to avoid complications and deliver a healthy baby is by starting prenatal care early in your pregnancy. Schedule your first prenatal checkup as soon as you know you are pregnant. At each visit, your healthcare provider checks on you and your growing baby. Most pregnant women will follow a schedule like this: weeks 4 to 28 of pregnancy, once a month. Weeks 28 to 36 of pregnancy, twice a month. Weeks 36 to 41 of pregnancy, once a week. If you have complications, your provider may want to see you more often. Prenatal care is also an opportunity for you to learn more about labor and delivery. Knowing what to expect can put a mother's mind at ease and help her decide on the best plan for her and her baby. Every mother deserves to have a healthy pregnancy and childbirth. You'll find a team of top healthcare maternity care professionals at Vicino Health Center's locations at Denver Harbor and Airline. New patients are always welcome. Let health and the health of your baby shine with care from Vicino Health Centers. Get to know us. Call and schedule a free introductory maternity telehealth visit with Vicino's Women's Health Coordinator.
Obviously, we won't be able to discuss this question as a class. However, if you're able to, obviously just try to think about an answer to this or discuss with someone if you're with anyone. However, the question is, why is regular prenatal care so important throughout pregnancy, and how might skipping these appointments affect both the mom and the baby? My personal response to this, as we kind of discussed in previous slides, is that prenatal care is ultimately supporting the growth of your future child, and without taking proper care of your future child and this baby, there can be potentially very severe health risks, potential risks for the mom. These prenatal appointments are just so important, and skipping these appointments can affect, of course, both the mother and the baby in various ways. Potential health concerns of the baby might be missed because an appointment is not attended, or the mom may be struggling with her own vitals or various things within her body and might not know until something unfortunate happens. And there's really, these appointments and prenatal care in general are just so important to ensuring the health and well-being of course, the mom and also the baby before they're born. Next, I'm going to discuss a little more in depth about the individual trimesters of pregnancy, and I'm just going to discuss things regarding the size of the embryo, eventually the fetus, and various common signs and symptoms experienced by the mother. During the first trimester of pregnancy, which is typically weeks 1 to 12, both the mother and baby are going to undergo rapid and significant changes. The baby really starts as a fertilized egg, of course, and grows simply from a small cluster of cells into a fully formed fetus by the end of this trimester. Around week 4, the embryo is around the size of a poppy seed. You can imagine how small that is. But by week 12, it's going to measure around 5 to 6 centimeters, which is really about the size of a plum. So there's really dramatic growth for the size of the baby for this. And at this point, by the time it hits week 12, it's really going to start resembling a typical baby at this point. Major organs, facial features, and limbs are going to start forming on the baby, and the heart is going to begin to beat by around week 6. By the end of this first trimester, the foundations really for all major body systems within the baby are in place, and the placenta is developed enough to support the baby's growth moving forward. Regarding the mother, the first trimester really can bring a wide range of physical and emotional experiences as the body is adjusting to such a drastic change. Common physical symptoms are going to include nausea and vomiting, often known as morning sickness, fatigue and frequent urination. Hormonal changes are also going to potentially cause food cravings, constipation, bloating, and mood swings. There really is such a wide range of experiences and feelings and changes, and it's really going to vary from mom to mom, but this is just generally what can be seen during this trimester. Additionally, emotionally, it's really normal for mothers to start to feel a mix of excitement and anxiety, because at this point, the reality of pregnancy is really going to start to set in. And of course, for first-time parents, this can bring so many feelings and really, especially bring lots of feelings of anxiety for a new mom. These symptoms are really a result of rising hormones like estrogen and progesterone, which are going to be essential for supporting the early stages of pregnancy. Following the first trimester, of course, is the second trimester of pregnancy. This is going to span from typically week 13 to week 27. And it's often considered the most comfortable and enjoyable trimester for many mothers. But of course, this really can vary from mom to mom. During this time, the baby is going to start to rapidly grow. They're going to increase from size from around 7 centimeters at week 13 to almost 36 centimeters by week 27. And for reference, 36 centimeters is about the size of like a cauliflower or a broccoli. Weight is also going to increase significantly from just a few ounces to almost 2 pounds by the end of this trimester. Key developments during this stage for the baby are going to include formation of their fingerprints, their hair, their eyebrows, and their ability to start to hear various sounds. By around week 20, many mothers can start to feel their baby's movements, which is often felt as like flutters, like butterflies in your stomach, or gentle kicks coming from the baby. For the mother, the second trimester typically brings more relief from earlier symptoms that were felt in the first trimester, like nausea and fatigue. Energy levels are often going to return to mothers, and their appetite often increases as well. The uterus is going to start to grow, which a visible baby bump will begin to show, and the body just has to adjust to the baby's size and weight. With this, some women can experience what's called round ligament pain, which is kind of a stretching sensation in the lower abdomen. As you can imagine, you're growing a baby in your uterus, and this can just, for some women, may cause this stretching feeling. Other symptoms can be like backaches, leg cramps. Additionally, skin changes are likely. There can be an appearance of a dark line around the belly, which is often referred to as linea nigra, or also some moms may feel the pregnancy glow due to increased blood flow, which is also common. Emotionally, during this trimester, many women often feel more balanced and connected to the pregnancy, especially after having that mid-pregnancy ultrasound, which is typically somewhere between 18 to 22 weeks, which is when you can see your baby looking like a typical baby that you would imagine for the first time, and often the sex of the baby can be identified at that point. The second trimester generally is just a time of visible and emotional growth, as baby and mom, of course, are going to settle more into the pregnancy. The third trimester of pregnancy is going to last from around week 28 to birth, which is usually around week 40, but again, can vary from mom to mom. This trimester is, again, another time of very rapid growth and, of course, final preparations for birth. The baby's going to grow from around 36 centimeters and 2.5 pounds at the start of this trimester to around 48 to 53 centimeters and around 6 to 9 pounds by full term. During this period of time, the baby's organs are going to mature, especially their lungs and brain, and their fat stores will increase to ultimately prepare them for life outside of the womb. The baby's going to start to move into a head down position in preparation for birth, which again is not guaranteed for every mother. Some babies, of course, are breech, and there are solutions for that. Again, during this time as well, movements can feel stronger and more frequent from the baby, because space is, of course, becoming much more limited as this baby is growing within the uterus. The senses for the baby are going to continue to develop, and the baby can start to respond to light, sound, or touch. As far as the mother, the third trimester can bring physical discomforts, as of course the body is carrying the full weight of a growing baby. These symptoms can include back pain, swelling in the feet and ankles, shortness of breath, heartburn, and more frequent urination, as of course the uterus is pressing on surrounding organs very harshly on the bladder as well. Additionally, sleep can become difficult, and this is also the trimester where women might start having what's called Braxton Hicks contractions. These are kind of just irregular, painless contractions that are oftentimes women think are indicators that they're going into birth, but they are not. And these are going to start to occur during the third trimester, and they can occur at different levels of frequency. Emotionally, many women can feel so many different emotions during this time. Typically, women are feeling excited, impatient, and anxious as this big day of labor approaches. Additionally, nesting instincts, which is really a burst of energy to start preparing the home for the baby, may kick in. And of course, their focus is really going to start to shift to labor and delivery and the thoughts of caring for this newborn baby. Again, as I mentioned earlier, regular prenatal visits become more frequent to monitor both mom and baby as both of them are getting ready for this final stage of pregnancy, which of course is birth. Next, we're going to watch this video, which is going to explain, similar to what I just talked about, however, it's really going to explain the pregnancy month by month, rather than just in groups of trimesters, so you can see the development of the baby and various symptoms, etc. for mom and baby.
One thing Planet Fitness members have in common: they're all strong.
That's right.
From conception to labor, your baby is constantly growing and developing. Around the 5-week mark, your baby's heart will begin to beat. At 27 weeks, they'll have regular sleep and wake cycles. And at 39 weeks, your baby will be physically developed. Use this timeline to learn how your baby is developing throughout the pregnancy. For the first few weeks of what is counted as your pregnancy, you're not pregnant yet. This is the time between the first day of your last period and when you ovulate and conceive. Over the next several days, the fertilized egg will start dividing into multiple cells as it travels down the fallopian tube, enters your uterus, and burrows into the uterine lining. You're now about 4 weeks from the beginning of your last period. This ball of cells, called a blastocyst, has begun to produce the pregnancy hormone HCG. This hormone tells your ovaries to stop releasing eggs and can be detected by a pregnancy test. A mere 16 days after conception, your fetus's neural plate forms. Think of it as the foundation of your baby's brain and spinal cord. The neural plate folds onto itself to form the neural tube, which closes by about week 6 of pregnancy, to eventually become the brain and spinal cord. Folic acid is one of the B vitamins that help form this neural tube. Because your baby's nervous system starts developing right out of the gate, it's important to consume 400 micrograms of folic acid daily before getting pregnant, and up that amount to 600 micrograms once you do. This can reduce certain defects of the brain and spinal cord by more than 70%. At 2 months pregnant, the cluster of cells that will become your baby's heart has begun to develop and pulse. Your baby's face and buds, which will eventually be limbs, begin to develop. Organs such as the brain, sensory organs, and the digestive tract begin to take shape. Your baby has what looks like a little tail. It will recede after a few weeks and form the tailbone. At 3 months pregnant, the embryo already has a human appearance. The limbs, hands, feet, fingers, and toes are recognizable. Their skin is so thin that you can see the blood vessels beneath it. Though reproductive organs have begun to form, they can't yet be determined on an ultrasound or sonogram. By the end of the 3rd month, your baby is fully formed. They weigh about an ounce and are 4 inches long. Since your baby's most critical development has occurred, your chance of miscarriage drops considerably after 3 months into the pregnancy. During the 2nd trimester, very fine wisps of hair appear on your baby's body. This is called lanugo and plays a critical role in protecting the fetus from damaging substances found in amniotic fluid. Your baby's senses, smell, vision, touch, taste, and hearing, are developing, and they may be able to hear your voice. Your baby's eyelids are still fused shut, but they can sense light. If you shine a flashlight on your tummy, they'll move away from the beam. Their movements have gone from flutters to full-on kicks and jabs against the walls of your womb. Ultrasounds done at 4 months pregnant may reveal your baby's sex. Here you are in your 7th month of pregnancy. You've come a long way. During the 3rd trimester, your fetus continues to grow in size and weight. Your baby's lungs are beginning to reach maturity, meaning your baby would have a good chance of surviving if born now. Starting in week 36, your baby gains about half a pound and grows half an inch a week. Many babies turn head down and stay in that position until birth. Thank you for watching this video. Please watch my other videos if you would like to know what to expect during a vaginal delivery or C-section.
Again, as I said before, obviously we can't discuss this as a class. However, the next discussion question is, in what ways might the partner or other family members' involvement need to shift as the pregnancy progresses through the trimesters? Personally, my response to this is that, of course, this is really going to be individual from mom to mom, and some moms are not going to want help and they're going to want to feel like they're doing it on their own, and others are going to need much more support from either their partner, other family members, etc. And of course, obviously there are times where mothers are on their own and they may feel a very severe lack of support, and this can be difficult for mothers. As the trimesters are getting more difficult in feelings of symptoms, and maybe feelings of anxiety are getting worse, or even, of course, feelings of excitement, the mother should be able to communicate with their partner what they need and how they feel. They may need help caring for a pet, or just maybe some self-care, or having their partner help them take care of themselves, and other various things are possible.
Next, we will discuss the financial planning and preparation that goes into having a baby. When you find out that you're expecting a baby, it is important to start budgeting for the next few years. That might include cutting back on fun expenses, buying more generic items at the store, and considering meal planning and prepping. This can be especially important postpartum, as it can be hard to leave the house, which makes delivery services like DoorDash all the more enticing. Meal prepping and freezing some meals before delivery will ease the stress and financial burden that may arise. Now I will discuss daycare and the financial planning that goes into it. For many families, having one partner be a stay-at-home parent is simply not an option. Therefore, daycare might be the only option. Many families have to send their baby as young as 6 weeks old to daycare while they are at work. As we know, the cost of daycare is very high and is often a major factor in financial planning. To put this into perspective, the total cost to send a child to daycare from infancy to age 5 varies by location. but it can range from approximately $50,000 to over $120,000 nationally. There is a clear range of pricing because it is competitive and parents want to send their child to the best daycare, especially if they are sending their infant there. While first-time parents may be in a state of only focusing on the next few years of the child's life, it is important to note that when you bring a child into the world, you have the responsibility to financially support them for the next 18 years. Now, that does not mean you have to pay for everything, as many families want to instill the importance of hard work and getting a job. However, there are basic needs that need to be met financially for 18 years. Raising a child from birth to age 18 typically costs between $330,000 and $415,000. Next, we will discuss the financial planning and preparation that goes into having a baby. There are surprisingly many considerations that go into deciding your birth plan, including location, pain management, midwives, company, and the placenta. The most common labor and delivery location in the United States are in hospitals. Home births are also a place that some people like to give birth at. Both of these provide comfort to the mother, as some people find comfort in having medical professionals taking care of them and monitoring her and the baby at all times. On the other hand, some mothers find comfort in having this monumental moment in their own home. This is also a good option if you want to have more visitors or want a more open birth, whereas there is often a limit in the delivery room at hospitals of how many people can be present. Midwives are also a resource to mothers and help ease the stress and concerns of giving birth. They are trained healthcare professionals who provide a more holistic approach, while specializing in low-risk pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum care. They are there for all stages, including the preconception time, as they are there to help give advice, pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum care of both the mother and the baby. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but it is also important to discuss who you want in the delivery room with you. Most hospitals allow 2 to 3 people in the delivery room during the actual birth. This is completely up to the mother's preference, but we often see the spouse and/or parent in the room. Something that I would recommend is to discuss with the family members who will be in the delivery room during the labor. You would be surprised by the amount of family members assuming that they will be in there. It can cause for a very awkward and uncomfortable conversation with the in-laws if not discussed. And the last thing we want is to cause more stress on the mom. Pain management options is something to consider when making your birth plan. I am sure most of us are familiar with an epidural, but if you don't, it is a type of regional anesthesia that provides pain relief in the lower half of the body. Many people report having a much more pleasant birthing experience with the use of the epidural. I also want to note that it still allows you to remain alert and awake during the birthing process. On the other hand, some people want a completely natural birth without use of medications. It is truly just a personal choice. Other forms of medical pain management include spinal blocks and laughing gas. Now, not all pain management options are pharmaceutical. There are different breathing techniques, meditations, aromatherapy, and birthing ball exercises. Lastly, there are multiple ways you can dispose of your placenta. Discarding it is the most common, but some people choose to take it home and consume it as there are nutritional benefits, while others choose to donate it or even bury it. Parenting classes can be especially helpful for first-time parents. Having both parents attend these classes is ideal, but for many families, work schedules do not allow for that. But having at least one parent attend is still effective. Most classes help with practicing how to swaddle a baby and feeding the baby. This also includes breastfeeding and helping with understanding the basics of formula and latching to breastfeed. Burping a baby is also something that is covered as it is vital for helping the new baby relieve the air that babies swallow during the feeding. Another popular and effective activity in parent classes is diaper changing. learning how to not only change the diaper, but how to prevent diaper rash and sanitary concerns. It might be brought up the type of diapers you can use, whether it's disposable or cloth reusable diapers. There are even diaper services that will clean your reusable diapers. All in all, these parent classes are very helpful at educating new parents and providing resources. The debate between breastfeeding and formula always seemed to be controversial, which is odd because as the parent, you have the right to choose what suits you and your baby. 4 factors that go into picking which type of feeding is best for you include lifestyle factors, nutrition, finances, and immunity. Starting off with lifestyle factors. As we have discussed in previous presentations done by classmates, the maternity leave for women in the United States is not up to par, considering we are a highly developed country. With that, many working mothers don't have the luxury of being a stay-at-home mom or even working from home. Therefore, the mother would have to pump multiple times throughout her workday and preserve the milk for caregivers to feed from a bottle. Also, many women are simply unable to breastfeed because of their low milk supply or even difficulties getting the baby to latch. Luckily, formula is a great alternative. Some people do a mixture of breastfeeding and formula feeding depending on their milk supply. Next, financial consideration is one of the biggest decision-making factors in today's economy. Breastfeeding offers an affordable feeding option. The costs that come with breastfeeding include pumps, bottles, nursing bras, lactation consultants, and other small accessories like milk supply bags. On the other hand, formula is a much simpler way, but it does come at a cost. Formula is expensive, on top of buying bottles and other feeding accessories. For the first year, formula feeding can range from approximately $1,200 to over $3,600, depending on the brand and age of the baby. Both have several financial factors that go into considering how you will feed your baby. Nutrition is key for a child's development and what they eat in their nutritional sources. Breastfeeding provides the most complete and natural source of nutrition for infants, containing the perfect balance of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals, as well as antibodies that strengthen the baby's immune system. It is easily digested and adapts to the infant's changing needs over time. Formula feeding, while designed to mimic breast milk, does not contain immune-boosting antibodies and may be harder for some babies to digest. But it does provide consistent nutrition with added vitamins and minerals, making it safe and reliable for people who cannot breastfeed. Lastly, immune protection. Breastfeeding protects babies from sickness because it has antibodies and special cells that fight germs and boost their immune system. It even changes to give extra protection when the baby is sick. Formula feeding has the right nutrients for growth, but it does not have these immune benefits, so some babies may get sick more often. Picking a pediatrician might seem overwhelming at first, but 3 key things to focus on to make the process easier include recommendations, insurance, and philosophy. Several people value the experiences of other people, making recommendations helpful. Finding parents you know personally and hearing their experience with their pediatrician can also give an insight on if they will be right for you. Although it is important to form your own opinions and focusing on taking recommendations from people whom you trust, their opinions, and judgment. Next, insurance. This is huge for several families as it helps narrow down your choices. It is encouraged to have health insurance for your family as self-pay pediatric visits can be very expensive. 2 easy ways to get a list of pediatricians that accept your insurance include contacting your insurance company to get a list of in-network providers or using online websites that allow you to select your insurance and go from there. Lastly, philosophy. Philosophy can go a long way when choosing who will care for your sick child and even regular well visits. Some people want a doctor who takes a holistic approach, and others want one who is more scientific. Experience might also play a role. This impacts their philosophical values as different generations of doctors were taught different techniques. However, most are looking for a doctor with empathy and a connection between values. I want to take a moment to ask you all a question. Everyone has different preferences, so if you were choosing a pediatrician for your future baby, what qualities or questions would be most important to you and why? For me personally, I would talk to the parents who I admire their morals and see who they use, or ask educators at parenting classes who they recommend. It would be important to me that the pediatrician has good bedside manners and has the idea that every child is different in meeting their own individual needs. Postpartum is so rewarding, but it does come with its challenges. 5 things to be aware of postpartum include postpartum depression, baby blues, hemorrhages, postpartum anxiety, and preeclampsia. Many new mothers experience the baby blues, which involve mood swings, sadness, or feeling overwhelmed in the first few weeks after birth. In most cases, these feelings can develop into postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, which are more serious conditions that may require professional support. Physically, complications such as hemorrhages or even postpartum preeclampsia, a condition involving high blood pressure after delivery, can occur and should be addressed quickly. Recognizing these possibilities highlights the importance of monitoring both mental and physical health after childbirth and seeking help when needed. Babies have a very fragile immune system when they are first born, making it important to do everything you can to prevent infection. Preventing infections in babies starts with simple but important daily habits. Cleaning toys regularly help keep germs away from items babies often put in their mouths. Limiting exposure to sick people reduces the chances of spreading illness, while staying up to date on vaccines protects babies from serious disease. Vaccines are controversial, so if that is not something you agree with, that's okay. It's a personal choice. Avoiding kisses on the baby's face lowers the risk of passing viruses or bacteria, especially in the early months. Most importantly, frequent hand washing by parents and visitors is one of the easiest and most effective ways to keep babies healthy and safe. A baby's development and bonding with parents are greatly supported through simple, nurturing actions. Skin-to-skin contact helps the baby feel secure, regulates their body temperature, and strengthens emotional connection. Many parents want to have skin-to-skin immediately after birth. This includes both mother and father. Providing responsive care like meeting needs quickly when the baby cries or shows hunger cues builds trust and supports healthy emotional growth. Physical touch, such as holding, cuddling, and gentle play, not only comforts the baby, but also encourages brain development and a strong parent-child bond. As mentioned in previous presentations, how a child bonds and develops as a baby can carry with you for the rest of your life. For first-time parents, learning to trust their instincts is an important part of caring for their baby. Paying close attention to the baby's body language, such as cues for hunger, tiredness, or discomfort, helps parents respond with confidence. Trusting your own knowledge rather than second-guessing every decision will build a stronger connection between parent and child. Next, taking time to unplug from the digital world would also help parents focus on their baby without being overwhelmed by outside opinions. Most importantly, being confident in your own abilities helps create a calm, supportive environment where both parent and baby can thrive. Installing a car seat is something that most hospitals check for before you are discharged after birth, making it important to install your car seat a few weeks prior to your due date. It can be so confusing installing a car seat because now companies like to add extra things to them that aren't necessarily necessary. As a good rule of thumb, it is useful to use these 6 steps, including reading the manual before starting to set yourself up for success, placing the car seat at the base of the chair, then thread the seatbelt through the chair, and then buckle the seatbelt. Make sure that you lock it and tighten it. Lastly, you need to check to make sure that the car seat is not moving too much. So go ahead and move the car seat back and forth, side to side, and make sure it doesn't move more than 1 inch. Next, we will watch a very basic tutorial on how to install a car seat.
To attach the car seat to the car, you can use either a seat belt or lower attachments. Either choice is safe if done properly. Just don't use both at the same time. If you're using a seat belt, pull it all the way out and test to make sure it's locked. Next, press down with your hand to put weight in the car seat or the base. And tighten the seat belt or lower attachments. Then, check the angle indicator. This will ensure your child's head is properly reclined. Finally, take the inch test. If your car seat does not move more than an inch side to side or front to back when pulled at the belt path, you're good to go. Have a safe ride.
This section focuses on the topic of sleeping and how something that seems really personal, like how we sleep or put our kids to bed, actually connects to a lot of family norms, values, and cultural expectations. Each part here shows a different aspect of how families approach sleep. First, we see co-sleeping, which is when parents and babies sleep in the same bed or same room. From a sociological point of view, this reflects cultural differences in parenting styles and attachment values. In some cultures, co-sleeping is seen as normal and promotes closeness and bonding, while in others, especially in the United States, it's viewed as risky or overly dependent. It really shows how ideas about what's good parenting are shaped by social norms rather than biology. SIDS, or Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. This connects to how social institutions like healthcare systems and the media influence family behavior. Parents learn about SIDS risk factors through doctors, public health campaigns, and even online communities. It's a good example of how medical knowledge and social awareness shape parenting decisions, often creating anxiety or pressure about doing things right. Next, we have naps. This might seem simple, but they relate to how families organize their daily routines. In sociology, this ties into time management and work-life balance. For example, parents' work schedules, childcare availability, or even social expectations around productivity can determine when and how children nap. It's a small part of the bigger picture of how families manage time and energy. Next, we see sleep duration. Sleep duration connects to the idea of family health norms, like how much rest is considered normal or healthy. Sociologists might look at how socioeconomic status affects sleep, since families with lower income or more stress often have less consistent sleep patterns. It shows that something as basic as rest can reflect social inequality. Sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation can also be linked to gender roles and emotional labor. For example, mothers, especially new ones, often carry more of the nighttime caregiving load, which can lead to exhaustion. It highlights the unequal division of labor that still exists in many households even today. As we saw in another presentation in this class, we have a lot of mothers showing and being moms during the night right now, but this could change and is changing, and more dads are becoming stay-at-home dads. Next, we see bedtime routines. Finally, bedtime routines are a form of socialization, the way parents read to their kids, set boundaries, or use routines to teach discipline. That's all part of teaching children structure, security, and family values. These patterns get passed down and become part of a family's identity. This is what makes them who they are. Overall, sleep isn't just biological, it's deeply social. The ways families approach co-sleeping, routines, or even bedtime discipline all reflect broader cultural values and social structures. Next, we have a discussion question. Would you rather deal with a baby who sleeps all day and is awake all night, or one who only naps for 30 minutes at a time? Why? Personally, for me, I would rather sleep with a baby who only naps for 30 minutes at a time. This is because, for 30 minutes, you can get a very productive and powerful nap, and this can be enough energy to get you through the rest of the day, while also getting increments of sleeping throughout the night. And this is a normal night, but there's going to be wake-ups throughout the night, and this is a struggle of having a baby. Regardless of when they sleep or what time they're going to sleep during the day, you are not going to get an amazing night's sleep, but one uninterrupted 30-minute nap could change your whole entire day, and this would be awesome, and I think this would be the ideal answer here. We are now going to watch a short video on SIDS, or Sudden Infant Death Syndrome, and take a deeper dive into what it really is.
This one pair of glasses fixed problems I didn't know I had. Don't risk straining your eyes or wasting.
Today's topic is Sudden Infant Death Syndrome, or SIDS. Sudden Infant Death Syndrome is defined as the unexplained death of an infant less than 1 year of age. SIDS is suspected when a seemingly healthy infant is found dead following a period of sleep, without any sign of distress or serious illness prior to the incident. SIDS may occur in infants and children lesser than 16 months, but risk peaks in infants between 2 and 4 months of age. Also called crib death, SIDS is considered the most common cause of death for children under the age of 1. Causes. The cause is unknown. However, SIDS may be associated with abnormalities in the part of an infant's brain that is responsible for sleeping and arousal from sleep. A combination of factors can make an infant vulnerable to SIDS and may vary from child to child. Some of these factors may include respiratory infection, low weight at birth, sleeping on the stomach or side, premature birth, overheating, unsafe or old crib, sharing a bed with parents or pets, the family history of SIDS, sex, males are at a higher risk than females, race, babies of African American and Native American descent are twice more likely to die of SIDS than other races. Babies who live with people that smoke are at a higher risk. The mother during pregnancy may affect the baby's risk of SIDS, especially if she is a drug or alcohol user, cigarette smoker, under the age of 20, has inadequate prenatal care. Symptoms. SIDS doesn't have any noticeable symptoms, as it happens unexpectedly and sudden. Diagnosis. The cause of an infant's death can be determined through process of investigation. This investigation may involve collecting information and conducting tests and procedures. The certain investigation that helps in determining SIDS death may include post-mortem laboratory tests that are done to rule out other causes of death, an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death, a thorough investigation of the crime scene. Parents, caregiver, and other family members may be interviewed. Items may also be collected. Reviewing the family or medical history. This allows knowing if there has been a previous history of unexplained infant deaths, cardiac death, and genetic disorders. Prevention. Currently, there is no way of predicting which infants are at risk for SIDS, but you can help your baby and reduce the risk of SIDS by following these precautions. Breastfeeding your baby. Placing your baby on his or her back to sleep, both at night and during nap times. Keeping your baby's face clear of coverings. Avoid overheating your baby. Have your baby sleep in your room with you, but alone in a crib or other structures designed for infants. This should be for at least the first 6 months or a year. Don't allow smokers around your baby. Firm sleep surface should be used in your baby's sleep area instead of fluffy loose beddings such as lambskin. Immunize your baby. Educate daycare providers, babysitters, grandparents, and other people who care for your baby about the risk of SIDS. Thank you for watching our video. Please do not forget to like and share the video.
Now we are going to be looking into childproofing the home. This part of the presentation looks at how families create safe environments for kids. Basically, how we childproof the home. What's interesting is that something as practical as safety is actually shaped by social norms, parental roles, and even class differences. The first point is secure furniture and wall decor. This connects to the ideas of risk management within families. Parents are expected to anticipate danger, which reflects the modern belief that good parenting means being constantly proactive. It also shows how social expectations around safety have evolved. A generation ago, people didn't always think to bolt down furniture, but now it's seen as a responsible thing to do. That change reflects how society defines what responsible parenting looks like. Next, we see removing blankets and pillows from the crib. This ties into medical and institutional influence, basically how expert advice shapes how parents act. Pediatricians, hospitals, and even social media parent groups spread information about SIDS risks. This is what we just watched the video on. This creates what we call a form of medical socialization, where families learn norms from professional systems about what's safe or unsafe. It also shows how parents often feel pressure to live up to these safety standards. Last, we're going to look at baby gates. Those represent boundary setting in family life. They're literally physical barriers that help a baby stay in their place, but they're like walls. They symbolize how parents control children's environments to keep them safe while allowing independence. You could connect that to the socialization theory, where children learn limits, structure, and autonomy through the way parents manage their surroundings. So even though childproofing sounds like it's just about safety, it really shows us how families are influenced by social norms, expert advice, and changing ideas of good parenting. It's another example of how family behavior reflects broader culture values. Here we have the nursery must-haves. This slide goes over the main things parents usually include in a nursery, but what's cool is that even these simple choices say a lot about what our society values when it comes to parenting. Things like cribs, baby monitors, and changing tables all show how families organize life around safety, care, and structure, and how those expectations can be shaped by culture and class. The crib or bassinet. This shows how parents rely on expert advice when raising kids today. Everyone's told to use firm mattresses and fitted sheets because that's considered safest. It shows how we built a culture where parenting is guided by information and safety standards. Parents often feel pressured to follow every recommendation perfectly because they don't want to be seen as careless or irresponsible. It's not just about the baby's sleep, it's also about parents trying to do everything right. Next, we have the rocking chair. The rocking chair is more than just furniture. It's a symbol of care and connection. It's where parents feed, comfort, and bond with their baby. It also reflects how roles inside families can look. A lot of people still picture moms doing this kind of caregiving, which shows how traditional expectations around parenting still influence family routines. We're also seeing change. More dads are involved in nurturing and bedtime routines now, which shows how families are adjusting those old patterns. Next is the baby monitor. The baby monitor is a great example of how technology has become part of parenting. It gives parents a sense of control and peace of mind, but it also adds pressure. Now there's this expectation to always be alert and available. It connects to the idea that good parenting means being constantly tuned in, which can honestly be exhausting. And not every family can afford all this gear, so it also shows how money and access play a big role in what's considered ideal parenting. Last, we have the changing table and the dresser. The changing table or dresser represents how families build routines and structure into daily life. Having a set place for diapers, wipes, and clothes makes things feel organized, especially during the chaos of raising a newborn. It also highlights all the behind-the-scenes work that goes into running a household, the cleaning, planning, and caregiving that doesn't always get noticed but keeps everything running. These are things that we never notice, we never look at, but things that parents do all the time that just goes right over our heads. And honestly, it reflects certain values a lot of families share, like being clean, organized, and prepared, which are all things our culture associates with being a good parent. So even though these nursery items seem simple, they really show how parenting today is shaped by safety expectations, gender roles, class differences, and everyday family routines. It's a good reminder that even the smallest parts of family life can reflect bigger social patterns. Now we're talking about bathing a baby, which might seem like just another daily task, but it's actually a really good example of how parents show care, responsibility, and structure in their routines. This is all found in the bath toys. From rubber duckies to pirate ships, this makes the bath great. Just joking, but really the bath time is both a bonding experience and a learning process for parents. It's about keeping the bath clean and comfortable, but it's also about building trust and closeness. First, we look at the sponge bath. At first, parents usually start with sponge baths, especially before the baby's umbilical cord falls off. This stage shows how careful parents have to be and how much they rely on guidance from doctors, family members, or online parenting communities. It's a reminder that parenting isn't just instinct, it's something people learn through social support and shared knowledge. Bathing becomes one of the first ways new parents learn hands-on care. Next, we look at the tub bath. Once the baby is a little older, parents switch to tub baths. The step represents growing confidence and independence in the parenting process. It's also a routine that helps build a sense of family bonding. Many parents turn bath time into a calm, playful experience that strengthens the connection between parent and child. It's one of those everyday moments that help babies feel safe and cared for. Next, the bathing supplies. Like I said earlier, the toys. The supplies like gentle soap, towels, and baby lotion reflect how much effort goes into preparation and safety. Parents are expected to use the right products and keep everything within reach, which shows how much detail and organization goes into parenting today. It also connects to how society promotes certain products as must-haves, showing how consumer culture shapes the way families approach even simple routines like bath time. Last is the water temperature. This is something that is very important, but you just think, oh, there's a perfect thing. It's very important. It shows how much care and awareness goes into protecting a baby's comfort and also their safety. Parents have to test the water carefully every time, which reflects the modern focus on being attentive and cautious as a sign of being a good parent. It's one of those everyday examples of how love and responsibility show up through small actions. Overall, bathing a baby is about a lot more than just getting clean. It's about learning, bonding, building routines that reflect what our culture values in family life. Safety, structure, and most importantly, love. Next is one of these topics that we don't love to look at or talk about because it's scary when you're talking about your own child, but something that is very important, and these are common newborn health concerns. This talks about some of the most common health concerns parents deal with when they have a newborn. Even though these issues like colic or diaper rash are usually not serious, they can be really stressful for new parents. It's one of those times when family support, communication, and patience make a big difference. First is colic. Colic happens when a healthy baby cries for long periods without a clear reason. It's one of the hardest things for parents early on because there's no quick fix. The baby just won't stop crying. This can be emotionally draining and even lead to tension or self-doubt for new parents, especially if they start wondering whether they're doing something wrong. It's a good example of how early parenting challenges aren't just physical. They can also affect a parent's mental health and confidence. Having emotional support or advice from family, friends, or healthcare workers can make a huge difference. Next is the cradle cap. Cradle cap is when a baby gets dry, flaky, or oily patches on their scalp. It's not dangerous and usually goes away, but it can look worse than it really is, which sometimes worries new parents. This shows how much appearance and perception can matter. Parents naturally want everything about their baby to seem perfect, so even something harmless can cause concern. It's a reminder of how parents often learn to balance what's truly a problem versus what's just part of normal baby development. Next is the diaper rash. Diaper rash is really common. It's basically irritation or inflammation of the skin from wet or dirty diapers. It can come from not changing diapers often enough, or from the baby's skin being sensitive to certain wipes or soaps. What's interesting is that this kind of issue shows how much daily care and attention goes into parenting. It's part of the constant cycle of feeding, cleaning, and comforting that new parents live every day. It also reflects how parents learn through trial and error, figuring out which products or routines work best for their baby. Last is jaundice. Jaundice is when a newborn's skin or eyes look yellow because there's too much bilirubin in their blood. It's actually very common in the first week after birth, and hospitals monitor it closely. This is a great example of how medical systems and family care overlap. Parents rely on doctors and nurses to guide them through what's normal and what needs attention. It also shows how families develop trust in healthcare professionals, which is a big part of how new parents learn to navigate those first few weeks with their newborn. Overall, these newborn health concerns show that raising a baby is a learning process filled with trial, error, and patience. Families lean on each other and on healthcare professionals to handle these early challenges, which helps them grow more confident and connected as caregivers. This slide focuses on maternity and paternity leave. Basically, the time parents can take off work after having a baby. What's surprising is that the United States is one of the only developed countries that doesn't guarantee paid parental leave for everyone. That means, for a lot of families, taking time off after having a baby can come with real financial stress. The main policy we have is called the Federal Employee Paid Leave Act, or FEPLA, which gives federal workers up to 12 weeks of paid leave that can be used within the baby's first year. But most people in the private sector don't get this benefit. They might only get unpaid time off through the Family and Medical Leave Act, if they even qualify. That's a big deal because not every parent can afford to go weeks without pay. This issue connects to bigger questions about work-life balance and gender equality. When there's little or no paid leaves, moms often end up being the ones to stay home longer, which can affect their jobs, income, and even career growth. On the other hand, many dads don't get much time off at all, which can make it harder for them to bond with their baby early on. Countries like Sweden or Canada offer months of paid parental leave for both parents, which helps share caregiving more equally and reduces stress on families. The U.S. system really shows how economic policies shape family life, and how we often expect parents to figure it out on their own. So overall, maternity and paternity leave aren't just workplace policies, they're family policies. The amount of time and support new parents get can make a huge difference in their well-being, their relationship, and how they balance work and family in those first months of life. Although we already had a whole entire group presentation on paid paternity leave, here's a little video to dive deeper into what it really is, and just to kind of refresh our memory on what paid paternity leave can look like.
Hi there. Let's break down 12 important facts about paid parental leave.
What is PPL?
Paid parental leave, or PPL, is a benefit available to CBP employees who meet the requirements of the Family Medical Leave Act or FMLA.
What is FMLA?
FMLA is an entitlement, or a government-provided benefit, to which eligible individuals are entitled to 12 weeks, or 480 hours, of unpaid leave for a variety of reasons including births, placements, caregiving, serious health conditions, and more. PPL falls under the 12 weeks granted by FMLA.
Am I eligible for PPL?
To be eligible to use PPL, you must have at least 12 months of federal service in a part-time or full-time schedule, a qualifying birth or placement event occurring on or after October 1, 2020, and the delivery of a living child, or a new placement of a child in your home.
What do you mean by birth or placement?
The two FMLA scenarios that fall under PPL are the birth of a son or daughter of the employee and the care of such son or daughter, or the placement of a son or daughter with the employee for adoptions or foster care in the care of such son or daughter.
Do I have to use all 12 weeks?
No. PPL can be used all at once, or intermittently, if the employee's supervisor reasonably determines the requested arrangement will not adversely impact the accomplishment of the mission. There is no carryover for unused PPL, and employees will not receive payment for unused leave. Also, you are not required to use accrued leave before using PPL, so that means, as its name suggests, this is paid leave.
What if my spouse and I work for the same agency? Are we both eligible?
When two parents work for the same agency, each employee has a separate entitlement for PPL, meaning they can each receive their own 12 weeks.
How long am I eligible for PPL?
PPL is available up to 12 weeks, within 12 months from the date of birth or placement, and while the employee has a continuing parental role in connection with the birth or placement.
What if I already used some of my 12 weeks of FMLA?
The total amount of FMLA that can be used in a 12-month period is 12 weeks, or 480 hours. This includes PPL. In other words, in any 12-month period, an employee can only use 12 weeks of FMLA for any reason.
Which forms do I need to start the request?
You would fill out OPM 71, request for leave, or request this in the timekeeping system used, and invoke FMLA. You would also fill out DHS Form 253-1, PPL request form, which provides leadership with the anticipated dates of PPL. Additionally, you would fill out and sign the PPL work obligation agreement.
Will my pay be affected while on PPL?
No. The pay an employee receives when using PPL shall be the same pay the employee would receive if the employee were using annual leave.
Am I obligated to return to work after receiving the 12 weeks of PPL?
Yes. Under the law, an employee must agree in writing to work for DHS for at least 12 weeks before taking PPL.
When does my 12-week work obligation begin?
This 12-week work obligation is triggered once the employee's PPL ends. The work obligation is fixed at 12 weeks regardless of the amount of PPL used by the employee.
To wrap up the presentation, we wanted to include a quick activity that shows just how much time and effort goes into caring for a newborn. Sometimes we hear numbers like babies sleep 16 hours a day, or they eat 10 times a day, but when you actually break that down, it really shows how demanding early parenting can be. So here's how the activity works. On your paper, make 4 columns: feeding, diaper changes, sleeping, and crying/soothing. Then, as you read through the facts, make tallies under each one. For example, babies usually feed 8 to 12 times a day, so you'd mark about 10 tallies under feeding. They might need 8 to 10 diaper changes, so let's make 9 tallies for that. Then they sleep around 16 to 17 hours per day, but not all at once. It's broken up into short naps, so you'll make 16 tallies there. And finally, babies can cry or need soothing for 2 to 3 hours a day, which equals around 12 tallies, 1 for every 15 minutes. After you finish, count up your tallies in each section and look at the totals. It gives you a real visual of how much time new parents spend just meeting a baby's basic needs every single day. Then there are a few reflection questions that we want you to think about. Which number surprised you the most? How did these tallies show the time commitment that comes with a newborn? And what do you think would be the hardest part about adjusting to that kind of schedule? The goal of this activity is to help us understand that parenting, especially in those first few months, is constant. It's physically and emotionally demanding, but it also shows how much love, patience, and teamwork it takes to take care for a new baby. It really connects back to everything we've talked about today, from sleep routines and health concerns to bonding and parental leave. Parenting, looking from the outside, not having experienced it, we can look over how difficult it really is. But when it comes down to it, when looking at what parents actually do on a daily basis, parenting is and will always be a full-time job. Here are the citations we used as a group. Here are the